There was a friend of mine, before reading a novel, would always turn to the last few pages in the book and read them and find out how it ended. And people would say, why would you spoil the book in that way? You know how it's going to end. And he said, I just like to know how it ends. It makes it much more interesting and enjoyable in reading the story. There is a certain comfort in reading through a story or a great adventure that we know no matter how bad it gets, along the way, we know that it's going to turn out good in the end. Now imagine you are in the story and don't know how it's going to end. There would be a temptation to worry a lot and maybe even give up in despair partway through the story. A couple years back, Peter Kreft came and spoke about suffering in our lives and how do we respond in the face of it. And he told the story of Job that we're all familiar with from the scriptures, who suffered greatly the loss of his livestock, his own family members, and even his health, as he had boils and scabs on his own skin. And he said he might have been grateful for the experience after it was all over and he was experiencing the blessings from the Lord. But in the middle of the story, it would be very difficult for him to rejoice and to appreciate what was happening to him. We also think about the story of the world as a whole and the story of our own lives. We don't know how our own life is going to end, but we do know how the story of the world is going to end. It's been revealed to us already by Jesus. And he says, do not worry. You cannot add a moment to your lifespan by worrying. How difficult that is to put that into practice, though, to say, I shouldn't worry about anything. Not a hair on your head will be destroyed. St. Teresa of Avila says in her prayer, let nothing disturb you, let nothing frighten you. All things are passing away. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. We recognize by faith that God is the creator of all things, and everything that happens in this world is in his hands. He made the great as well as the small, and he provides for all alike, it says in the book of Wisdom. We're tempted to worry, though, but we know that God is not worried about what's going on. As we look at everything that's happening in the world, we can be filled with fear. We start to think that the evil one is going to win out. Everything seems to be going downhill. Fewer people with faith, greater evil in the world. And what's happening in the world when we watch the news, reports of division, war, persecution, seems like bad news and going from bad to worse. The thing is, we interpret things in light of cause and effect. The evil one, who is the prince of this world, wants us to believe that he will triumph in the end, that he will defeat Christ and faith in the end. But that is not the truth. We already know the end of the story. We know that Jesus is victorious over sin, over death, and over Satan. He defeated him by the blood shed on the cross and his resurrection from the dead. In the book of Lamentations, it talks about the experience of dwelling on things that leaves our soul in a state of desolation. I have forgotten what happiness is. I tell myself my future is lost. Thinking about it over and over leaves my soul downcast. And we've all had those moments where we're dwelling on something negative, and the more we think about it, the further down we go. But he says, I call this to mind as my reason to hope. The favors of the Lord are not exhausted. His mercies are not spent. They are renewed each morning. So great is his faithfulness. Good is the Lord to the one who waits for him, to the soul that seeks him. The mercies of the Lord are renewed each morning. God is not bound by cause and effect. God alone has the power to create something out of nothing. Not even an angel or the devil can do that, to create something when before there was nothing. Only God has that power, and he does use that power. Every morning he renews his mercies and his favors. He creates something, the mercy of God, where before there was nothing. The Lord can bring about conversion suddenly, without any signs or events leading up to it. He can restore life when it seemed completely lost and dead. With Jesus, it's not too late. Or we say, I wish I could have been there with Jesus to comfort him as he carried the cross, because he loved me. It's not too late. We can be there with Jesus. Or I wish I could have said, I forgive you to my dad before he died. Or take back what I said. It's not too late. With God, it's always possible. God is outside of time and space and is greater and more powerful than anything in creation. He's not in heaven worrying or wondering what's going to happen in the upcoming elections in the United States or about all the problems in the church or how it's going to turn out. The Lord has firmly in his hands all that is happening in the history of the world and is drawing from it a greater good of our healing and our salvation. We pray today then for the gift of hope, to place our hope in the hands of the Lord of time and history and all created things. Jesus, I trust in you.